choice, actually. Because do I really need to use footnotes and bibliography in order to prove that Israel has and is still committing genocide in Gaza? I mean, does anybody amongst the attendees of this conference need a proof? I don't think so. And that is why I just want to start with Article 1 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which states clearly that all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights, unquote. It does not, however, say, with the exception of Palestinians. Now, but we 11 million Palestinians, especially Gazans, know very well that we are the exception to that rule. We cannot have the same rights as those of all human beings. Others have the right to life, to work, security, health, marriage, love, electricity, water, medicine. We do not. For 22 long days, dark nights, Palestinians in Gaza were left alone to face one of the strongest armies in the world, an army that has hundreds of nuclear heads, thousands of trigger-happy soldiers armed with Merkava tanks surrounding the tiny strip, armed with also F-16s, Apache helicopters made in the United States of America, naval gunships and phosphorus bombs, 22 sleepless nights, 528 hours of constant shelling and shooting. Every single minute you expect to be the next victim. Now, but Israel, and that is the point, Israel could not have carried out its genocidal war without a green light from the international community. During the massacre, one Israeli soldier committed to Haaretz newspaper, and I'm quoting, "That is what is so nice, supposedly, about Gaza. You see a person on a road, walking along a path. He doesn't have to be with a weapon. You don't have to identify him with anything and you just shoot him," unquote. When apartheid Israel decided to attack the northern part of the Gaza Strip in late February, early March 2008, we Palestinians of Gaza were threatened with a greater Shoah, that is to say Holocaust, by the Deputy Minister of War then, Matan Vilnai. Around 164 Palestinians, including 64 children, were killed. What was the reaction of the international community then? Absolutely nothing. In fact, the European Union decided to reward the oppressor by issuing declarations of intentions to upgrade their trade agreement with Israel, which, needless to say, served as a green light for the current atrocities committed by the Israeli occupation forces in the Gaza Strip. On Sunday, 18th of January, Israel's Prime Minister, that is to say towards the end of the latest massacre, Israel's Prime Minister Olmert, who is a war criminal by all standards, expressed his pleasure to 6 European leaders over their, quote, extraordinary support for the state of Israel and their concern about its security, unquote. In retrospect, the upgrading of relations between the European Union and Israel in early December 2008 was a green light to the Gaza massacre. In spite of the war crimes committed by the Israeli occupation forces, and in spite of the clear, obvious fascist tendency of the current government, the European Union will strengthen bilateral relations with Tel Aviv. Within this context, the anti-apartheid freedom fighter, Comrade Ronnie Kasserls, with whom you all are familiar, he says, and I'm quoting, "What Hendrik Verwoerd, that is the architect of apartheid, what he admired too was the impunity with which Israel exercised state violence and terror to get its way, without hindrance from its Western allies, increasingly key among them the United States of America. What Verwoerd and his ilk came to admire in Israel was the way the Western powers permitted an imperialist Israel to use its unbridled military with impunity in expanding its territory and holding back the rising tide of Arab nationalism in its neighborhood. March 2008 was then a rehearsal for Gaza 2009. Israel knew that it could go on committing war crimes fully equipped with an international conspiracy of silence. The international community did not react in March 2008. Why would it do otherwise in 2009? That was the Israeli logic, and so it remains. Mind you, Israel's fascist foreign minister is of the opinion that Gaza should have been nuked. For those who accuse us of subscribing to conspiracy theories, we have this reminder. In 2004, the Israeli professor Arnon Sofer, head of the IOF's National Defense College and an advisor to Ariel Sharon, talked about the desired results of Israel's unilateral disengagement from Gaza in an interview with the Jerusalem Post. And I'm quoting him. He says, when 1.5 million people live in a closed-off Gaza, it's going to be a human catastrophe. Those people will become even bigger animals than they are today. The pressure at the border will be awful. It's going to be a terrible war. So if we want to remain alive, we will have to kill and kill and kill. All day, every day. If we don't kill, we will cease to exist. Unilateral separation doesn't guarantee peace. It guarantees a Zionist Jewish state with an overwhelming majority of Jews. Unquote. Then there is the view bluntly expressed in 2002 by Israel's then Chief of Staff, General Moshe Ya'alon, and which I think sums up the objective of the hermetic medieval siege and the massacre committed in Gaza. I'm quoting, "The Palestinians must be made to understand in the deepest recesses of their consciousness that they are a defeated people," unquote. Now, this is a total dehumanization of the Palestinians of Gaza. And West Bankers, here is the message for you. You'd better accept your fate as cockroaches, ready to be crushed unwillingly under the boot of a zealot Israeli soldier, or else. Israel's campaign of tribalistic hate, though unprecedented, can be compared to that of apartheid South Africa.